Just like any piece of pottery, it all starts with the clay. Before anything touches the wheel, I wedge the clay thoroughly. This removes any air pockets and aligns the clay particles, giving it strength and consistency. Once the clay is centered on the wheel head, I begin the throwing process. I always perform additional wedging on the wheel, cone up and compress down. This also aligns platelets for forming and builds structure for strength. After centering, I open up the form and begin pulling the walls. I am aiming for a basic cylinder, which is like a blank canvas. Everything about the final mug, including its personality, starts here. If you want a deeper dive into how I throw pots on a potter's wheel, I have a dedicated video just for that. Check out the link in the description. I then use a metal rib to refine the shape and remove excess slip. This tool helps compress the surface and smooths out irregularities. A small detail that adds a lot to the finish. Once the form is leather hard, I place it on the wheel again for trimming. I use a Giffen grip. It's a quick centering tool, not perfect but efficient. Sometimes it leaves small dents, but I've learned to work with it, especially because I like the speed and efficiency of it. A basic loop tool is my go-to for trimming, and I always carve a clean foot ring. It's not just aesthetics, it helps with the drying and gives the piece balance. Each mug gets its own series number using an auto-generated mechanical stamp. Since everyone is sculpted by hand, I treat them like individuals. No two are ever the same. While the mugs firm up, I move on to handles. Pulling handles is all about the feel and muscle memory. The more you do it, the better you get. Then I store the handles in a damp box to keep them pliable. An old refrigerator works just as well. Anything that prevents premature drying. Once the mugs reach the right stage of leather hard, firm, but still workable, I prepare for handle attachment. Scoring and slipping is essential. Even if the clay feels just right, I always score and use plenty of slip. It adds mechanical grip and peace of mind. Make it a habit and it becomes second nature. With my handles shaped and trimmed to size, I measure, score, and slip both the handle and the mug body. Some potters skip that step, but I'd rather take the extra time. A better bond means fewer regrets. Once the handle is attached, I blend the joints, soften the edges, and refine the lines with a smooth transition. At this point, the personality starts to show. This is when the mug starts becoming a FaceMug. I press my maker's mark into the base of the handle, not just for signature, but also to compress the slip and strengthen the bond. Then I check the rim for roundness. To finalize the lip, I use another piece of fired pottery as a tool which I made specifically for this task. It's shaped to round out the rim evenly and gently. I always work in production mode, usually working on 1 to 2 dozen mugs at a time. Once the handles are on, the mugs go into a wet box, old refrigerator, or under plastic to rest and slowly reach the leather hard stage. When the clay is firm enough to hold detail but still workable, I begin sketching the face. Using a needle tool, I map out the facial features. The placement of the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. Before adding any elements, I always score the surface and use plenty of slip. Now this step might seem repetitive, but it's what keeps everything in place through the drying and firing process. I start with the eyes, 2 small balls of fresh clay gently rolled between my palms. Then I roll slightly larger pieces and flatten them into discs. These become the eyelids. After slicing them in half, I shape and carve each lid, scoring and slipping as I go. For the nose, I roll a lump of clay into a cone shape, and using a flat board, I press it slightly to create a triangular form. Then trimming it with a needle tool or fetterling knife, I score, add slip, and attach. A dry brush helps to remove any excess slip, and a rubber or silicone-tipped sculpting tool lets me shape the nostrils with precision. I also use a wooden knife to refine additional details. Depending on the expression I want, I might add the cheeks next. Rounded balls of clay shaped and attached to suggest cheekbones. Again, I score and slip. Then sculpt the curves to balance the rest of the face. With each element, I pay attention to proportion. After years of teaching and creating FaceMugs, I've seen how easy it is to accidentally go too big on every feature. Oversized parts can be fun and expressive, but I tend to exaggerate just one or two, maybe the nose, the eyes, or the teeth, and keep the rest understated. Next up, the forehead. This might mean just small sculpted brow ridges or a few expressive wrinkles, whatever suits the character. If the mug includes a mustache or upper lip, I roll out a thin coil of clay. Score, slip, and attach, then carve texture using a wooden tool or needle tip to suggest hair or lip lines. Then the lower lip and chin, or maybe a full beard, depending on the face. If I'm adding teeth, I'll often use white porcelain or any bright white clay. Each tooth is hand-shaped and left to dry before being tucked behind the lips. A small clay blob becomes the tongue, and I use whatever is handy, a pencil tip, a wooden knife, a rubber scraper to fine-tune the details and soften any harsh transitions. With the face complete, I set the mug on a shelf to fully dry. After a few days on the shelf, the clay reaches the bone-dry stage, the point where all visible moisture has evaporated and the piece is ready for firing. At this stage, the pottery is extremely fragile, so I handle each piece with care, transferring them gently to a cart. I always try to find a sunny day to let the pieces sit outside. This extra step helps drive out any residual moisture and warms the clay before firing. A gentle sun bake that reduces the risk of cracks during the bisque firing. Once the clay is dry, I clean up the surface using a green Brillo pad. This helps to smooth out any rough textures and refine the sculptural details. The goal is a clean, even surface before firing, especially around the facial features. This is important now. I always do the sanding outside. Dry clay particles can be harmful to breathe, so I recommend wearing a mask and working in a well-ventilated area, or better yet, outdoors, just like I'm doing here. If you're enjoying this kind of video, hit that like button and subscribe. I'll be uploading part 2 soon, where I'll cover glazing, firing, and the final reveal of a finished FaceMug. Well, that's going to be it for this one. Thanks for watching. This is Brandon at Artismia. Keep practicing, and I'll catch you next time.